beat time. Beat time.
Yellow. How's everyone doing? Nadina? Eric raid. Oh shit. Hey, thanks for the raid. Eric, thank you so much for the raid. Hold on, let me see. Can I do the thing where I do the thing? It's in Twitch. Right. Okay, that's weird. Dang it, come on! Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to use my shout-out thing on here. Yeah, choose from active chatters. It should... It's... alright. Well, you guys are like the only people here anyway, so I don't need to do a shout-out. Everyone in the audience is your audience, so... Thank you so much for that raid. I really appreciate it. What were you guys doing? And yeah, Twitter's pretty hilarious. People are pretty ridiculous and weird and... I don't know, they just say and do what they want, and don't think about the consequences of how it affects other people. What else is new, am I right? But yeah, also, welcome raiders, welcome, welcome. I am actually a fungus. And guess what, I might actually be changing my name again. Who knows? But today we're gonna be reading a Dr. Seuss book. 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, which is a book that I read when I was a kid. Quite a few times, actually, but I remember nothing about it! Hope everyone's doing well. This is my new piece. I love it. Eh, hold on, let me hold it that way so you guys can see it. I love it. It's got a good amount of filtration and it's nice and heavy. Favorite one was one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Yeah, I remember that one as well. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I'm pretty sure this was my favorite Seuss book back in the day. Alright, well, we actually got a decent amount of people here, so... 43 seconds left until the song ends. My voice is out of sync. That's weird. How about, Okay. Okay. Maybe that's better? Let me monitor my voice. Let me monitor my voice. Testing. Testing. One, two, three, two, four, three, four. Is it still out of sync? Is it still out of sync? Also, this should work now, right? You're hearing me before you see it. Okay. Yeah, no, I do have to go to the cam scene. Weird. Why am I not seeing... Why am I not seeing sync as an option? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe now? Okay. How's this? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How's that? Does that work? Also, now this should work. Wait. It's picking up from the desktop. Now it's picking up from the desktop. Wait, when I monitor myself, it picks up from the desktop? A bit off still. Haha, great. Is it? Oh, does it seem better? Now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. But when I select monitor myself, it plays it on the desktop. So that kind of sucks. So I can't monitor myself without it playing twice. Oh well. Whatever. But yeah, this works now, right? I'm a pro streamer, yay for tech issues. No, I'm a pro streamer. I fixed the tech issues in like 20 seconds. Instead of it taking like an hour or two for it to be fixed. It's time. Hey! Eric, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. I haven't even done anything yet. But you love me. You really love me. Welcome to the Portobello Posse. I hope you enjoy your stay. There is very much room here. Delicious. Alright, I guess. What say we do this? Alright, I guess, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna put my microphone down here so I can read. Oh, look at that! It's still pretty much the same volume. That's pretty good. I like that. I can put my, I can put it down here, and no one will really care. Alright. So I guess let's do the intro, huh? Yeah, no one's gonna care about the lighter. Alright. Hey, all you awesome viewers. I almost did my my original intro. No, this is not the stupid side. I don't do that one anymore. Hey, all you awesome viewers. I am actually a fungus, and I am also the fungal fungi. That might actually become my new name. Don't too much into it. Just, you know, go with the tides of change as they come. All right. Yeah, so welcome to a new vague memory review. Today, we're doing Dr. Seuss's The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. It took me forever to get this book because I got inspired by the Dr. Seuss controversy, even though this is not one of the books that is being discontinued. It is the Dr. Seuss book that is most prominent in my mind, yet I remember nearly nothing about it. All I remember is there's some peasant kid that has a hat, a red hat with a feather in it, and then, like, I think he tries to take the hat off, and underneath that hat is, like, a more extravagant hat, and then, like, the more hats there are, the more crazy and weird they get, and then the last one, I think, is, like, encrusted with jewels and stuff, and then maybe he becomes the king. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as I know, there's no controversy in this. It's just a, you know, good old Dr. Seuss book that is good for your children. This is not the copy that I had growing up. The copy I had, I believe, was the black cover. That it looked like this, but it was black and hardcover. So I think I had like a second edition printing or something like that. This is just like, you know, a cheap reprint that I got off of eBay. So yeah, book lovers, I'm sorry. Brace yourselves. Actually, let's get the mic super close so you can hear this. Okay, ready? I don't know if you can hear this, the spine. No? Let's, oh, yeah. It's a cheap book. I don't really care much about it. And besides, I mean, if you don't loosen up the pages, you know, then you're going to be wrestling with them, and that's not fun, okay? That's not fun. I love books. Books deserve to be worn in, okay? They deserve to be used. By the way, let me know if you have any issues with the coloration or the focus or anything like that. To Chrysanthemum Pearl, aged 89 months, going on 90. Not entirely sure who that is. I've been watching a lot of Steven Universe lately, so it just sounds like a fusion. Let's see. This is from the Smithsonian. Imaginary daughter? What? Hold on, let's get... Let's get the desk cam under here. There we go. A popular myth about Dr. Seuss is that the children's author didn't like kids. While this might not be totally accurate, while Theodore Seuss Geisel didn't have any children, at least one fact about his life suggests that he was interested in children, his own at least. Oh, his first wife was also a children's author. They shared custody of an imaginary child? Ah, they helped mask his anguish that she could not have children, huh? So his wife couldn't have kids, and they had an imaginary kid. Dude, why don't you just adopt? Maybe he didn't like kids, and he was just like, his wife was like, I can't have kids. Can we adopt? And he's like, oh, hey, you know what would be even more fun? Let's pretend to have a kid. Isn't that fun? That'll be so much fun. You have such a great imagination. You can imagine them to look like whatever you want. The wife is like, oh, okay, I guess. Sure. We'll do that then, I guess. Oh, it goes into that. Ah, all right, fine. We'll look at it a little bit more. Okay. Uh Chrysanthemum Pearl could use chocolate frosting to concoct oyster stew and possess superhuman sewing skills. Oh, that's awesome. Hmm. Ah, there were more. There were more imaginary children. They had 6 neighborhood children pose with them for their annual Christmas card. Wow. He thought about children and adoption during his first marriage, while other clues indicate. Seuss and a business partner tried to invent an infantograph that would show 2 people how a prospective child of theirs might look. Okay, well, we have that technology now. It didn't work, but he did write ad copy for the idea. If you married that gal you're walking with, what would your children look like? Come in and have your Okay. Also, Seuss also wrote 2 stories dealing with the subject of adoption during this period. A 1938 short story called Matilda, the Elephant with a mother complex. In 1940s, Horton Hatches the Egg. Ooh, a sequel to Horton Hears a Who. I love Horton Hears a Who. Featuring the elephant, who would be, yeah. Seuss didn't think that it stood in the way of his being a successful child actor. Aww. His first wife died of a suicide in 1967. Folks, if you're ever having mental health issues, tell someone. You know, there's nothing more important in your life than your mental health. Wow. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Oh. Yeah, it did say after a history of illness. I thought that meant I thought that meant mental illness, but I guess it meant chronic physical illness. And don't forget to hydrate. Is this too red? This looks like it might be a little too red. Hold on. No. Yeah, all right. Let's just turn the color correction off. There we go. Holy shit. For some reason, I think she had stage 3 cancer and they told her to go home and die, basically, so she did. Wow. Yeah, basically, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do for you. You're so late stage. All you could do is go home and just be with your loved ones until it's time. That's depressing. All right. Anyway, start the book. Start the book. Smoke some weed. Smoke some weed. Pack more. Pack more. Oh, the green we will smoke. Oh, the trees we will toke. In the comfort of your home, or even on the go. Now that it's legal, I'll be higher than an eagle. All right, let's go. I can't believe I made that up on the spot. Thank you, weed. You're welcome. I love doing it. I love helping people. Me too, weed. In the beginning, Bartholomew Cubbins didn't have 500 hats. He only had one hat. Ah, fuck, I fucked it up. Okay, let's do it again. I want to try to read it as accurately as popsicle? Yes, as accurately as popsicle. In the beginning, Bartholomew Cubbins didn't have 500 hats. He had only one hat. It was an old one, that had belonged to his father, and his father's father before him. It was probably the oldest and the plainest hat in the whole kingdom of Did, where Bartholomew Cubbins lived. But Bartholomew liked it, especially because of the feather that always pointed straight up in the air. Always pointed straight up, huh? Nice. The kingdom of Did was ruled by King Derwin. His palace stood high on the top of the mountain. From his balcony, he looked down over the houses of all his subjects. First, over the spires of the noblemen's castles, across the broad roofs of the rich men's mansions, then over the little houses of the townsfolk, to the huts of the farmers far off in the fields. It was a mighty view, and it made King Derwin feel mighty important. First, off the bat, what I like about this book, hey, it doesn't rhyme! That's pretty cool. And I've always loved medieval stuff. I liked the look of the hat, and the hats, and the feathered hats. Probably something I was made fun of when I was a kid. Made fun of for. Yeah. You got a bit of world building here. You got a king. Okay, you got the peasant family, and then you got the king. Talking about all the different classes and stuff like that. Oh yeah, no, I get it. A lot of that stuff just wasn't treatable. They just were not able to do it. Far off in the fields, on the edge of a cranberry bog, stood the hut of the Cubbins family. From the small door, Bartholomew looked across the huts of the farmers to the houses of the townsfolk, then to the rich men's mansions and the noblemen's castles, up to the great towering palace of the king. It was exactly the same view that the King Derwin saw from his balcony, but Bartholomew saw it backward. It was a mighty view, but it made Bartholomew Cubbins feel mighty small. I like how this book presents different points of view back to back, particularly in like a class system. It's pretty cool. Just after sunrise one Saturday morning, Bartholomew started for town. He felt very happy. A pleasant breeze whistled through the feather in his hat. In his right hand, he carried a basket of cranberries to sell at the market. He was anxious to sell them quickly and bring the money back home to his parents. He walked faster and faster till he got to the gates of the town. That's one thing I don't remember about this book, is that I don't remember that that the feather on the hat specifically stuck straight up. The sound of silver trumpets rang through the air. Hoofbeats clattered on cobbled streets. Clear the way! Clear the way! Make way for the king! All of the people rushed for the pavements. They drove their cars right up over the curbstones. Oh, it's a cart. Carts. Carts. All the people rushed for the pavements. They drove their carts right up over the curbstones. Bartholomew clutched his basket tighter. All around the corner dashed 50 trumpeters on yellow-robed horses. Behind them on crimson rose... Ugh, I can't freaking speak right now. Around the corner dashed 50 trumpeters on yellow-robed horses. Behind them, on crimson-robed horses, came the king's own guards. Hats off to the king! Shouted the captain of the king's own guards. On came the king's carriage, white and gold and purple. It rumbled like thunder through the narrow street. It swept past Bartholomew. Then suddenly, its mighty brakes shrieked. It lurched, and then it stopped. The whole procession stood still. Bartholomew could hardly believe what he saw. Through the side of the window of the carriage, the king himself was staring back, straight back at him. Bartholomew began to tremble. Back up! The king commanded the royal coachman. The royal coachman shouted to the royal horses. The king's own guard shouted to their crimson-robed horses. The trumpeters shouted to their yellow-robed horses. Very slowly, the whole procession backed down the street until the king's carriage stopped right in front of Bartholomew. This is actually a pretty engaging story so far. And then the first thing you see on the next page is, oh, what's that? He did take his hat off, but he still has a hat on. So, yeah. In this part, It doesn't actually say that he took his hat off, though. It just said hats off to the king. And then it swept past him, and then stopped, and then they went back to him, and then they were looking right at him. So that's interesting. It didn't even mention that he took his hat off. And then on this page, you can see, oh, he took his hat off, but there's still a hat on his head. Oh yeah, that's right. Dr. Seuss did write novels under a different name. Yep. Hats off to the king. Is a sign of respect. Indeed. I just think it's interesting that, you know, it didn't describe him taking his hat off. Which, I don't know, I think maybe could insinuate that, of course he took his hat off. Everyone took their hat off because that's what you do when the king comes. You know, so it's not really something to take note of. The king leaned from his carriage window and fixed his eyes directly on Bartholomew Cubbins. Well? Well? He demanded. Bartholomew shook with fright. I ought to say something, he thought to himself, but he couldn't think. But he could think of nothing to say. Well? Demanded the king again. Do you or do you not take off your hat before your king? Yes, indeed, sire, answered Bartholomew, feeling greatly relieved. I do take my hat off before my king. Then take it off this very instant, commanded the king, more loudly than before. But, sire, my hat is off, answered Bartholomew. Such impudence, shouted the king, shaking an angry finger. How dare you stand there and tell me your hat is off? I don't like to say you are wrong, sire. Oh, shit! Bot. Oh, no. Oh, shit. Hey, I could buy followers and viewers? Oh, awesome. Wait, you do want to become famous? Okay, I'll send you the link later. Thank you for bot swatting. Wait, did you bot swat? Did someone bot swat? Nadina. Nadina, you're not a mod. Why are you not a mod? How do I do that? Oh my god. Oh, actually, I could keep that up. Oh my god. Oh no. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, slash mod. Yeah, I thought I could just click on your name and then do it, but I guess not. There we go. Ah! Wrong one, Nadina. There you go. Hey, you're off to a great start, Medina. Instantly bans the wrong person. Want to become famous and have blah blah blah? I can't speak. Want to become famous and have followers / viewers? And then immediately my bot is like, enjoying the content? Follow on Twitch and sub on YouTube. Let's see. I don't like to say you are wrong, sire, said Bartholomew very politely. But you see, my hat is off. And he showed the king the hat is in his hand. If that's your hat in your hand, demanded the king, what's that on your head? On my head? Guessed Bartholomew. There did seem to be something on his head. He reached up his hand and touched a hat. Is that? Yep, that's from the cover. The face of Bartholomew Cubbins turned very red. It's a hat, sire, he stammered. But it can't be mine. Someone behind me must have put it on my head. I don't know how it got there, said the king. You take it off. And the king sat back in his carriage. Bartholomew quickly snatched off the hat. He stared at it in astonishment. It was exactly the same as his own hat. Same size, the same color, and it had exactly the same feather. By the crown of my fathers, roared the king. Oh, wait, hold on. That was supposed to be the king. By the crown of my fathers, roared the king. Again, leaning out of the carriage window. Did I or did I not command you to take off your hats? Did, sire. I took it off. I took it off twice. Nonsense! There is still a hat upon your head. Another hat. Again, Bartholomew reached up his hand and touched a hat. Come, what's the meaning of all this? Demanded the king, his face purple with rage. I don't know, sire, answered Bartholomew. It never happened to me before. So that means that he's taken off his hat before, and nothing happened to it. Like, he up until this point, he was able to take the hat off of his head. The king was now shaking with such fury that the carriage rocked on its wheels, and the royal coachman could hardly sit in his seat. Arrest this impudent trickster, shouted the king to the captain of the king's own guards. We'll teach him to take off his hat. Oh, God. Oh, he thought that... Oh, my God. He thought he was messing with him. It would be a cute animated cartoon. I would like to see this as an animation. That would be really cool. Think of how terrifying this must be, though, right? You're in front of the king, not just a king or a nobleman, the king. You take off your hat. There's still a hat on your head. Take that hat off. There's still another hat on your head. The cat is the king is so pissed off the carriage is freaking shaking. It looks like he's gonna have a stroke. Dude, you're freaking dead. Bartholomew Cubbins is probably shitting his pants as we speak. The royal coachman cracked his long whip. The king's carriage swung forward up the street toward the palace. But the captain of the king's own guards leaned down from his big brass saddle. Brass. Why would your saddle be brass? That sounds uncomfortable as hell. But the captain of the king's own guards leaned down from his big brass saddle and grabbed Bartholomew Cubbins by his shirt. Away flew Bartholomew's basket. The cranberries bounced all over the cobblestones and rolled down into the gutter. With a jangling of spurs and a clatter of horseshoes, the captain and Bartholomew sped up the winding street toward the palace. Out of the narrow streets, on up the hill. Bartholomew clung to the captain's broad back. On and on they galloped, past the bright gardens of the wealthy merchants, higher and higher up the mountains, on past the walls of the noblemen's castles. Floop! The sharp wind whisked off Bartholomew's hat. Floop! Floop! Two more flew off. Floop! 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 Flew another, and another. 4, 5, 6, 7. Bartholomew kept counting as the hats came faster and faster. Lords and ladies stared from windows of their turrets. Turrets? Okay, that means something different than what I thought it did. Yeah, so far 7 hats. Wondering what the strange stream of hats could mean. Over the palace drawbridge they sped, through the great gates, and into the courtyard. The captain pulled in his reins. His Majesty waits in the throne room, said a guard, saluting the captain. The throne room! The captain dropped Bartholomew to the ground. I'd certainly hate to be in your shoes, he said, shaking his head sadly. Oh boy. Yeah, someone's gonna die. That someone is Bartholomew Cubbins. For a moment, Bartholomew was terribly frightened. Still, he thought to himself, the king can do nothing dreadful to punish me, because I really haven't done anything wrong. It would be cowardly to feel afraid. Dude, you're doing witchcraft. You're gonna get your ass drowned. Bartholomew threw back his shoulders and marched straight ahead into the palace. Follow the black carpet, said the guard at the door. All through the long hallway, Bartholomew could hear the muttering of voices behind heavy doors. He won't take off his hat? No, he won't take off his hat. Ooh. Maybe they think he's a rebel? Eh? That's a turret. Those are called turrets? Huh. Okay. Well, now I know what these are called. Interesting. Bartholomew walked on till he stood in the very middle of the throne room. The king, in a long scarlet robe, was sitting on his throne. Beside him stood Sir Alaric, keeper of the king's records. He wore his belt, instead of a sword, a long silver... Wait. Oh, okay. Let me do that again. Beside him stood Sir Alaric, keeper of the king's records. He wore in his belt, instead of a sword, a long silver ruler. Lords and noblemen of the court stood solemn and silent. The king looked down at Bartholomew severely. "Young man, I'll give you one more chance. Will you take off your hat for your king?" "Your Majesty," said Bartholomew as politely as he possibly could, "I will, but I'm afraid it won't do any good." And he took off his hat, and it didn't do any good. Another hat sat on Bartholomew's head. He took off hat after hat after hat after hat until he was standing in the middle of a great pile of hats. The lords and noblemen were so astonished they couldn't even speak. Such a thing had never happened in the throne room before. They don't have any magicians then, huh? All the hats are the same still. "Heavens," said Sir Alaric, keeper of the records, blinking behind his triangular spectacles. "He's taken off 45! And there were 3 more down in the town." "Oh, wait. And there were 3 more down in the town," said the king. "And you must add on 87 that blew off my head as we galloped up the hill," said Bartholomew, trying to be helpful. 135 hats! "Most unusual," said Sir Alaric, writing it down on a long scroll. Come, come," said the king impatiently. "Sir Alaric, what do you make of this nonsense?" "Very serious nonsense, your Majesty," answered Sir Alaric. "I advise you to call in an expert on hats." "Excellent," said the king. "Hold guard! Fetch in Sir Snips, maker of hats for all the fine lords." I mean, it makes sense. The problem is with the hat, so why not call an expert on hats? But I mean, like, do they not think like, oh, witchcraft or something? I don't know. Anyway, it's time for Sir Snips, the hat maker that was knighted. Into the throne room marched the smallest man, wearing the tallest hat that Bartholomew had ever seen. It was Sir Snips. Instead of a sword, he wore at his side a large pair of scissors. "Take a look at this boy's hat," commanded the king. Sir Snips looked at Bartholomew Cubbins' hat and sniffed in disgust. Then he turned to the king and bowed stiffly. "Your Majesty, I, Sir Snips, am the maker of hats for all fine lords. I make hats of cloth and gold, fine silks and gems and ostrich plumes. You ask me what I think of this hat? Pooh! It is the most ordinary hat I have ever set my eyes on." "In that case," said the king, "it should be very simple for you to take it off." "Simple indeed," mumbled Sir Snips haughtily, and standing on his tiptoes, he pushed his pudgy thumbs at Bartholomew's hat and knocked it to the floor. Immediately, another appeared on Bartholomew's head. Oh boy. "Screamies!" screamed Sir Snips, leaping in the air higher than he was tall. He jumped his own height? No, it just says higher than he was tall. Oh, wait, so... No, he didn't jump double his height. He jumped at least his own height. Okay. Screebies. Then he turned and ran shrieking out of the throne room. Dear me, said the king, looking very puzzled. If Snips can't do it, this must be more than an ordinary hat. 136, wrote Sir Alaric, wrinkling his brow. Majesty, I advise that you call in your wise men. A fine idea, said the king. Oh, God, bring me Nad. Nad knows everything about Nad knows about everything in all my kingdom. In came an old man. He looked at the hat on Bartholomew's head, and he looked at the pile of hats on the floor. Nad, my wise man, can you take off this hat? Asked the king. Nad shook his head solemnly. Solemnly, no. Then fetch me the father of Nad, commanded the king. He knows about everything in all my kingdom and in all the world beyond. He must have the eye of Thundera. Oh? No one? Wakahisa sensei! Awesome! Welcome, 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 welcome! Good to see you. No audio at the moment. Have to mute for a bit. But till I can get headphones. Okay, wanted to drop in for a bit and say hi. Okay, awesome. Very, very nice of you to stop by. I mean, we're doing a reading right now, but yeah. Yeah, glad you're here. Let's see. So first they tried Snips, and now they're trying the Nads. Let's see what old Nad has to say. In came an even older man. But when he looked at Bartholomew's hats, the father of Nad merely walked his fingers across his beard and said nothing. Then bring me the father of Nad, ordered the king. He knows everything about everything in my kingdom, in all the world beyond, and in all other worlds that may happen to be. Okay, how many Nads are there? This guy has 3 Nads. I'm not judging. It's just an observation. Then came in the oldest man of them all. But he just looked at Bartholomew and nibbled nervously at the end of his beard. Does this mean there is no one in my whole kingdom who can take off this boy's hat? Bellowed the king in a terrifying voice. A small voice came up through the balcony window. What's the matter, Uncle Derwin? To Bartholomew, it sounded like the voice of a boy. The king stepped out on the balcony and leaned over the marble railing. There's a boy in here, just about your age, the king said. He won't take off his hat. Bartholomew tiptoed up behind the king and looked down. There stood a boy with a big lace collar, a very proud little boy, with his nose in the air. It was the Grand Duke Wilfrid, nephew of the king. You send him down here, said the Grand Duke of Wilfrid. I'll fix him. The king thought for a minute. He pushed back his crown and scratched his head. Well, maybe you can. There's no harm in trying. Take him to the Grand Duke, Wilfrid, commanded the... Wait. Take him to the Grand Duke Wilfrid, commanded the king, and 2 of the king's own guards led Bartholomew out of the throne room. Oh no, this kid is just... What? This kid is just gonna shoot arrows at the hat. Why would he think that would work? Pooh, said the Grand Duke Wilfrid. looking at Bartholomew's hat and laughing meanly. That hat won't come off. You stand over there. He pointed to a corner where the wall curved out. I need a little target practice with my bow and arrow. I was just using him as a frickin' target because he's a peasant and no one cares about his life. Nice. When Bartholomew saw that the Grand Duke Wilfred had only a child's bow, he didn't feel frightened. He spoke up proudly. I can shoot with my father's big bow. Wait. Okay. Wait. Bartholomew? Bartholomew just tried dunking on a duke. Yeah, Bartholomew just dunked on a duke. When Bartholomew saw that the Grand Duke Wilfred had only a child's bow, he didn't feel frightened. He spoke up proudly. I can shoot with my father's big bow. Wow, dude. You got more nads than the king. My bow's quite big enough for shooting hats, especially hats like yours, answered Wilfred, and he let fly an arrow. Zzz. It grazed Bartholomew's forehead and nipped off his hat. How did it graze his forehead? Oh shit. Away it blew and over the parapet. Oh shit. Nice, thank you so much for the follow. Apollos, how's it going? Good to see ya. I hope you're having a good night. We're reading some Dr. Seuss, and then I have no idea what's happening next. How you doing? Welcome to the Portobello Posse. It's good to see ya. I'm doing pretty good. Done worse, done better. Can't complain. I know, right? It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny and it's pretty interesting so far. Like, there's no explanation to it. It's just like this kid that went into town to sell cranberries has a hat that just will not. I mean, it just keeps replicating hats, and he can't take off a hat because the hat comes off, and then there's another hat on his head. No one knows what the hell. Thank you, Wakahisa Sensei. Miss you. You need a copy of it? Who knows? Maybe I can raffle it off. Let's see. Away it blew and over the parapet, but another hat appeared on his head. Zzz, zzz, zzz. The arrows flew, till the Grand Duke's whole bag full of arrows was gone, and still a hat sat upon Bartholomew's head. It's not fair! Cried the Grand Duke. It's not fair! He threw down his bow and stamped upon it. 154 hats! Gulped Sir Alaric. Oh boy. Why are they still using arrows? These hats are driving me mad, the king's voice rang out through all the palace. Why waste time with a child's bow and arrow? Fetch me the mightiest bow and arrow in all my realm. Fetch the yeoman of the bowmen. Hold on. I think I said that wrong. Fetch the yeoman of the bowmen. Makes sense that it rhymes. Oh, they're trying to kill it. Maybe the hat is a mimic. Yeoman of the bowmen, echoed all the lords and noblemen of the court. A gigantic man strode out across the terrace. His bow was as big as the branch of a tree. The arrow was twice as long as Bartholomew, and thicker than his wrist. "Yeoman of bowmen," said the king, "shoot off this boy's hat, and make it stay off." Bartholomew was trembling so hard that he could scarcely stand straight. The yeoman bent back his mighty bow. Like a mad giant hornet, the arrow tore through the air towards Bartholomew Cubbins. Sharp arrowhead bit through his hat and carried it off, on and on for a full half-mile. It plunked to a stop in the heart of an oak tree. Yet there on Bartholomew's head sat another hat. The face of the yeoman of the bowmen went as white as the palace walls. "It's black magic!" he shrieked. Finally! Finally, they addressed the fact that this is supernatural! What just fell? Oh my god. Black magic, that's just what this is, sighed the king with relief. I should have thought of that before. That makes things simple. Back to the throne room. Call my magicians. Yeah, you should have thought of that before, and it does make things simple. In the whole throne room, there wasn't a sound as loud as a breath. But from the spiral stairs that led down from the southwest tower came the shuffling of slow, padded feet. The magicians were coming. Low and slow, they were chanting words that were strange. Dig a hole 5 furlongs deep, down to where the night snakes creep. Mix and mold the mystic mud, Malbur, Balbur, Titter, Todd. That was fun. In came 7 black-gowned magicians, and behind each one stalked a lean black cat. No, not demonizing black cats. They circled around Bartholomew Cubbins, muttering deep and mysterious sounds. Stop this useless muttering, ordered the king. I want a chant that will charm away this boy's hat. The magicians huddled over Bartholomew and chanted. Winky boss, tinky boss, Fortici, play. Hat on this demon's head, fly far away. Howl, men, bowl away. Howl away, bowl away. Yowl, cats, yowl away. Yowl away, yowl away. Hat on this demon's head, seep away, creep away, leap away, gleep away, never come back. I like the first poem better. A mighty good chant, said the king, looking very pleased. Are you sure it will work? All the magicians nodded together. But, said the king, looking puzzled, there still seems to be a hat upon his head. How long will it take for the charm to work? Be calm, O sire, and have no fears, chanted the magicians. Our charm will work in 10 short years. 10 years, gasped the king. Away, fools, he shouted. Out of my sight. I can't wait 10 years to get rid of his hat. Oh dear, what can I do? What can I do? 10 years. Oh my god, that was so good. I have no idea what it sounded like, but oh man. That's probably gonna look funny on the
Oh, and you thought Chipmunk was funny? You thought Chipmunk was hilarious. You thought this was funny, right?
What about this one? Is this one funny? What do you think about this one? I don't know. Hey, maybe what about this one? Do you like this one? Oh yeah, I got so many more spots for different presets. Oh boy. Let's see. If I were king, whispered the Grand Duke Wilfred, I'd chop off his head. Dreadful thought, said the king, biting his lip, but I'm afraid I'll have to. Really? A king that doesn't like the thought of chopping off people's heads? Oh yeah, and also the protagonist is gonna die, I guess. Young man, he said to Bartholomew Cubbins, and he pointed to a small door at the end of the room. March down those steps to the dungeon, and tell the executioner to chop off your head. Bartholomew's heart sank into his boots, but he did as the king commanded. I must take off my hat, he said to himself as he started down the long black stairway. This is my last chance. One hat after another he tore from his head. 156, 157, 158. It grew colder and damper. 217, 218, 219. Down, down, down. 231, 232. 233. It seemed to Bartholomew. Oh wait, I think I did that wrong. 231, 232, 233. It seemed to Bartholomew he must be in the very heart of the mountain. Who's there? Said a voice from the blackness. Bartholomew turned a corner and stepped into the dungeon. His hat's still the same. Look at that. Maybe he's a different type of king? Yeah. Maybe he's a progressive king. Well, progressive as kings go. The executioner was whistling and swinging his axe idly, because at the moment he had nothing to do. In spite of his business, he really seemed to be a very pleasant man. The king says you must chop off my head, said Bartholomew. Oh, I'd hate to, said the executioner, looking at him with a friendly smile. You seem like such a nice boy. Well, the king says you have to, said Bartholomew, so please get it over with. All right, sighed the executioner, but first you've got to take off your hat. Why? Said Bartholomew. I don't know, said the executioner, but it's one of the rules. I can't execute anyone with his hat on. What? All right, said Bartholomew. You take it off for me. The executioner leaned across the chopping block and flipped off Bartholomew's hat. What's this? He gasped, blinking through the holes of his mask. as another hat sat on Bartholomew's head. He flipped this one off, then another, and another. Fiddlesticks, grunted the executioner, throwing the axe on the floor. I can't execute you at all. And he shook hands with Bartholomew and sent him back upstairs to the king. Oh my god. Was that a thing? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything about it. This is actually a really long story. Yeah, it actually is pretty long. We've been going for like an hour and a half so far. I think it's almost over. We only got... Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like 10 pages left? Alright, so... The king had been taking a nap on the throne. What are you doing back here? He said to Bartholomew, angry at being awakened. I'm sorry, your majesty, explained Bartholomew. My head can't come off with my hat on. It's against the rules. So it can't, said the king, leaning back wearily. Now how many hats does that make altogether? The executioner knocked off 13, and I left 178 more on the dungeon steps, answered Bartholomew. 346 hats, mumbled Sir Alaric from behind his scroll. Uncle Derwin, yelled the Grand Duke Wilfred, I suppose I'll have to do away with him. Send him up to the highest turret, and I, in person, will push him off. Wilfred, I'm surprised at you, said the king. But I guess it's a good idea. Damn. Oh yeah, no, it's a good story. So the king and the Grand Duke led Bartholomew Cubbins toward the highest turret. Up and up and up the turret stairs he climbed behind them. This is my very last chance, thought Bartholomew. He snatched off his hat. 347. He snatched off another. He pulled, and he tore, and he flung them behind him. $3.98, $3.99. His arms ached from pulling off hats, but still the hats came. Bartholomew climbed on. $4.48, $4.49, $4.50, counted Sir Alaric, puffing up the stairs behind him. Ah, here we go. This is when they start getting more extravagant. Suddenly, Sir Alaric stopped. He looked. He took off his triangular spectacles and wiped them on his sleeve. And then he looked again. The hats began to change. Hat 451 had not one but two feathers. Hat 452 had three. And 453 also had three and a little red jewel. Each new hat was fancier than the hat just before. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Cried out Sir Alaric. But the king and the Grand Duke were far up where they couldn't hear. They had already reached the top of the highest turret. Bartholomew was following just behind. You know, it would be really cool if Bartholomew ends up pushing the king and the duke because he's behind them. Step right out there. Step right out here and get on that wall, snapped the Grand Duke Wilfred. Oh, sorry, that's the Grand Duke Wilfred. Step right out here and get out on that wall, snapped the Grand Duke Wilfred. I can't wait to push you off. Ooh, there's the final hat. Really? He's surprised the kid wants to murder people. But when Bartholomew stepped up on the wall, they gasped in amazement. He was wearing the most beautiful hat they had ever seen in the kingdom of Did. It had a ruby larger than any the king himself had ever. Oh, it had a ruby larger than any the king himself had ever owned. It had ostrich plumes, and cockatoo plumes, and mockingbird plumes, and paradise plumes. Ooh, those are really nice feathers. Besides such a hat, even the king's crown seemed like it was nothing. The Grand Duke Wilfred took a quick step forward. Bartholomew thought that his end had come at last. Wait! Shouted the king. He could not take his eyes off the magnificent hat. I won't wait, the Grand Duke talked back to the king. I'm going to push him off now. That new big hat makes me madder than ever. And he flung out his arms to push Bartholomew off. Oh boy. But the king was quicker than Wilfred. He grabbed him by the back of his fine waist collar. This is to teach you, His Majesty said sternly. And the king threw the duke off of the side of the turret. The duke screamed as he fell to his death. No, I'm sorry, I made that part up. His Majesty said sternly, that Grand Duke's never, wait. This is to teach you, His Majesty said sternly, that Grand Dukes never talk back to their king. And he turned the Grand Duke Wilfred over his knee and spanked him soundly, right on the seat of his royal silk pants. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. That's child abuse. But hey, medieval times! And now, smiled the king, lifting Bartholomew down from the wall, it would be nice if you'd sell me that wonderful hat. $4.98? $4.99? Broke in the tired voice of Sir Alaric, who had oh, sorry, let me do that again. $4.98? $4.99? Broke in the tired voice of Sir Alaric, who had just arrived at the top of the steps. And that, he pointed to the hat on Bartholomew's head, makes exactly 500. 500! Exclaimed the king. Will you sell it for 500 pieces of gold? Anything you say, sire, answered Bartholomew. You see, I've never sold one before. The king's hands trembled with joy as he reached for the hat. Slowly, slowly, Bartholomew felt the weight of the great hat lifting from his head. He held his breath. Then suddenly, he felt the cool evening breezes blow through his hair. His face broke into a happy smile. The head of Bartholomew Cubbins was bare! Look, your majesty! Look! He shouted to the king. No, you look at me, answered the king, and he put the great hat on right over his crown. Arm in arm, the king and Bartholomew went down to the counting room to count out the gold. Then the king sent Bartholomew home to his parents, no basket on his arm, no hat on his head, but with 500 pieces of gold in a bag. And the king commanded that he had bought, and all the other hats too. Oh, and the king commanded that the hat he had bought, and all the other hats too, be kept forever in a great crystal case by the side of his throne. But neither Bartholomew Cubbins, nor King Derwin himself, nor anyone else in the kingdom of Did, could ever explain how the strange thing had happened. They only could say it just happened to happen, and it was not very likely to happen again. That ending, though. This is I kind of feel like this story was inspired by Jack and the Beanstalk in some way. You got a kid of a poor family going into town to sell some stuff. And then crazy magical hijinks ensue. And then they try to kill the kid just because the hat pisses them off. And then the 500th hat is an amazing hat that is probably undersold for 500 gold pieces. That kid and his family are probably still poor. I don't think 500 gold pieces is really that much. Wow. Yeah, he kept all 500 hats. He kept all 500 hats, which means he didn't sell the 500th hat for 500 gold pieces. He sold each hat for 1 gold piece. That's messed up. What is the moral of this story? Why was I fascinated with just like weird acid trip stories? Then again, it is Dr. Seuss, so this is kind of par for the course for Dr. Seuss, I think. Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. That was an interesting story. I can see why I liked it so much as a kid. Huh. That, especially when you read it for the first time, you're like, huh. Huh. That's interesting. Huh. And then at the end, you're like, oh, what? What, now they're changing? And then as a kid, you're like, oh, hey, that's good. You know, he did what he set out to do in the beginning of the book. Sell something, get money, and not die. Yeah, I don't think there's a moral to this story. Oh, wow. Yeah. So that was the 500 hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitch, all that good stuff. I don't know how much more streaming I'm gonna do. Maybe we're just gonna continue doing just chatting, or maybe I'll play some Realm. I don't know. I don't really feel like playing a video game, but we're gonna go ahead and yeah. We're gonna go on a break. I'm gonna play some music and we're gonna hang out a little bit. Starting a book club? No. No, I don't know what I'm doing for the next vague memory review, but I'm gonna try to switch it up. I want to try to make sure it's not a kid's book. I actually want to do some looking into You Can't Do That on Television, which is a late 80s live action sketch comedy program that was on Nickelodeon. Yeah, I remember growing up with it, and I remember like only a couple things. I mean, we could start a book club if you want, you know? We can have a section for a book club in the Discord, you know? And then we can read the book and then we can discuss the book. I mean, it'll have to be like short books because I don't really have that much time to read, and the time that I do have to read, I usually don't use to read. Oh, it will be fun to do a book club where everyone reads what they like and tells everyone about it. So you don't have to watch something specifically. So you don't choose a single book. Everyone just reads what they want and they talk about it. I mean, I get that. I get how that could be fun. I like the point about a book club being that everyone reads the same book and discusses, you know, how they interpret things in that book. I like your idea too. I would definitely like to do that. I've just never been in a book club before. And I know that's usually how they go, is you usually pick one book and everyone reads it and goes through it. We could do that, yeah. We could do that. We could do it your way. I don't know. We could let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because I really do want to start reading more. And this might actually help. Yeah, that's a good idea. So, yeah, guys, gals, NB pals, I will be right back. We are going on a quick break, and either we're gonna end it because there's not a lot of people, or we're gonna do something. I don't know. Actually, I don't think anyone new is gonna stop by. It's almost 9 o'clock. That's about when I usually end anyway. I guess, yeah, let's look for someone to raid now. More of a sci-fi fantasy kind of person. One of my favorites was Daughter of the Forest. I need to read that. I love sci-fi fantasy. I actually started working on my novel again. Which, by the way, it would be really awesome if you could read it. Although, I don't need that just yet because I'm probably gonna revamp the first couple chapters again. Alright, let's see who's streaming. Who do we got? Bunny Gunny. Oh yeah. Hey Nadina, remember I was telling you about Bunny Gunny? Let's go ahead and raid them. How about that?
Let's do it.
Hmm. All right. Did that do it? Did that do the thing? Okay, good. But you were saying yup to that, right? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you stopped by. Glad you had a good time. I really enjoyed reading this story. Can't wait to do another vague memory review because it's just so much fun diving in to stuff that interested me a lot when I was a kid that I just have no memories of, like no detailed memories of, just vague memories. Hence the name, Vague Memory Reviews. All right. See you later, everyone.